Hi everyone, my name is Chloe Heinz and I am doing my senior project on an emotional intelligence development program for designers. So a little bit about me, I am a UX UI concentration and I chose to do this project because I'm really passionate about leadership. I have a background in some coursework where I got to learn about leadership. And for those of you who are very interested in personality tests like I am an Enneagram 2, which means I really like to help people. So I was really passionate about choosing a project where I get to help others. And my Myers-Briggs is ENFP, which also means that I am really interested in learning about the inner workings of people, what motivates them, what they're passionate about. So all of these factors lend to why I chose to do this project. So, emotional intelligence is defined by psychologists Peter Salovey and John Mayer as the ability to perceive emotions, to access and generate emotions so as to assist thought, to understand emotions and emotional knowledge, and to reflectively regulate emotions so as to promote emotional and intellectual growth. And Daniel Goleman took this theory and he broke it up into 5 competencies: emotional self awareness, self regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. And he wrote about this in his critically acclaimed book, Emotional Intelligence: Why It Matters More Than IQ. So, most of my project is based off of the way that Daniel Goleman breaks up emotional intelligence into 5 competencies. So, I'm going to go a little deeper into what each of these mean. So, for self awareness, this is defined as the ability to recognize and understand personal moods, emotions, and drives, as well as their effects on others. Self-regulation is defined as the ability to control or redirect disruptive impulses and moods, suspend judgment, and think before acting. Internal motivation is defined as a passion to work for internal reasons that go beyond money and status, such as inner vision of what is important in life, a joy in doing something, or just a curiosity in learning. Empathy is defined as the ability to understand the emotions of other people and treat them according to their emotional reactions. And lastly, social skills is defined as a proficiency in managing relationships and building networks, and an ability to find common ground and build rapport. What I really like about emotional intelligence is, yes, it's a skill that we learn over time, but it's not set. It's something that we can work on and improve on through effort and habit. So, why this matters to designers is it's our job to design based on the needs of the user. And sometimes a project is brought forward from a client regarding something that a user needs, and you might not always get the chance to communicate with the user and understand where they're coming from and what their problem is. So it requires a lot of communication, empathy, the ability to anticipate users' emotions and motivations and tap into those emotions. So my proposed solution is a emotional intelligence development program, which aims to leverage the strengths and improve the weaknesses for designers. Because as it stands right now, there doesn't seem to be a very strong emphasis on the soft skills um, that is required to build strong emotional intelligence and communicate and empathize with clients and users. So, my project was heavily research based. I ended up creating a interactive document. So a lot of this presentation Doesn't have a lot of visuals to go along with it, but I will go a little bit into some content within each of the competencies as well as my structure of my program and such. So the first component that I honestly frame my entire program around is this concept of the intentional change theory. And this has 5 aspects to it. It revolves pretty much around the idea that change isn't going to be enacted properly or established in your habits unless you really want it for yourself. So, by setting up a plan for change in these 5 steps, it can really help to make that change effective. So, the first step is to discover your ideal self. And then after that, you discover your real self and compare your real self to your ideal self. Then you will create a learning agenda based on your needs, what interests you, what you want to work on, and then you experiment with the new habits based on your learning agenda. See what works, what doesn't, and lastly, you aid all of this by getting support from someone in a relationship where they can encourage your habits and efforts. So the program content, this is like an outline of, there's like 5 sections, I would say, of my program. The first is the what, why, and how, which I already kind of went over when I was introducing what emotional intelligence is and what it means to designers. And then the how goes into my goals for the program, which I also detailed, which is improving weaknesses and leveraging strengths. And then as for the next 4 sections, those kind of go into each of the components of the intentional change theory. So for discovering your ideal self, there is a personal vision statement and a goal setting section. And then for discovering your real self, there is a emotional intelligence self-assessment and a place where you can rate your confidence in each competency. And then for creating your learning agenda, this includes a section including a lot of development resources in the sections of self-awareness, self-regulation, internal motivation, empathy, and social skills. And when you create your learning agenda, you get to choose from any of the hallmarks, which a hallmark is a component of a competency. I'll get into those later. And then within each hallmark, there are tools that you can choose from to focus on to aid your habit building and reframing your mindset. So it's highly customizable. And then for experimenting with new habits, there is a learning plan log and also a self-reflection area to kind of brainstorm what's working, what's not, and the support part of the intentional change theory is not really like defined in the program, but it is encouraged to kind of find a program sponsor of your choosing, whether that is a coworker, boss, or trusted friend or family member, to discuss the progress that you're making throughout your program and encourage you. So the first section that I'm going to be talking about, kind of going into, is the personal vision statement, which is honestly just asking about broad goals and how you view your future in a broad setting. So some of my favorite questions I kind of bolded in other colors, but it's supposed to just frame your mind around what you want out of life and also kind of get you thinking about how this program is going to help you get to these places. For example, how do you want to feel when you get up to go to work in the morning? What do you want to be proud of? What kind of lifestyle do you want? What do your relationships mean to you? So after the personal vision statement, there is going on into the finding your real self, which is taking the emotional intelligence assessment, self-assessment. And I found this is a free tool that I found on Mind Tools, and it is a 15 questionnaire where you just rank where you feel these statements meet where you're at. And then at the end, you calculate your total, and it goes into your score, your overall score, and then also which statements correlate to which of the 5 competencies so that you can kind of gauge where you're at. So in my program, I just have a link to this assessment, and then I also have a table set up where you can log your results and again, rank how confident you are in each section. So then, in order to kind of congregate or gather all of the tools and exercises and resources, I had to do a lot of research, and there was a lot of research going on. It was kind of hard to organize, but something that helped keep me organized and focused and kind of create separation between each of the 5 competencies was using a mind map. So what I did is I did 5 different mind maps for each competency, and I mapped out what the hallmarks, the defining hallmarks are for each of them. And this helped me so that I could plan which activities and exercises would go along with each hallmark, and also ensure that there wasn't any overlap. And then onto the development section, the structure that I followed was there's an overview, which kind of had like a mini table of contents, I would say, which includes the hallmark, and then under that it lists which exercises go along with it. And then after that, you can browse each of the hallmarks and exercises, which have a written description and then also exercise directions. So you can either choose which one you want to use based off of the overview, or if you want more information, you can choose which exercises to add to your learning plan based on reading into them more. So really quickly, just going back to everything that went into making this program, overall, I'm not going to show everything because it's a 50+ page document of content with 35 exercises, and I used over 25 sources to kind of get all this information together. So I'm just going to go a little bit into detail on what is comprised of the development section content. So here's just a screen grab of what the program document looks like. So it includes some interactive areas like you see on the right with with fields for you to fill out, a table to fill out, and some diagrams here and there, but it is pretty wordy, so I'm going to be talking about it a lot in just terms of content. So first, for self-awareness tips in the development section, these are some of the ones that I wanted to point out. It doesn't include all of the ones I have on my program, but the one I'll be talking about right now is recognizing and naming feelings, which is a mindfulness technique called mental noting. This is heavily talked about in this app called Headspace, which I reference in my program. And additionally, recognizing strengths and weaknesses is included in the self-awareness section with a area where you can have a peer give you feedback about what you're strong in, what you can work on, and also a SWOT analysis, which you saw on the last page on the right side. Then on to self-regulation tips. I have ways to handle anxiety, anger, and sadness. One of the top ones being meditation, and this is heavily pulled from a source, a book called Stress Less, Accomplish More by Emily Fletcher, and it just talks about this technique called the Ziva technique, which has a lot of health benefits and mindfulness benefits that help you clear your mind and be able to grapple with what life throws at you in a better way. Other ways to handle anxiety, anger, and sadness includes exercise and journaling with a happy ending. As for internal motivation tips, I am going to go most into detail on the locus of control, which is an exercise to improve the hallmark of self-efficacy, which is how you feel, how confident you feel that you can handle anything that is thrown at you, your confidence in your abilities to accomplish something. And the locus of control is pretty much a measure of, there's two sides. There's an internal side where if you have a strong internal locus of control, you believe that you can control what is going on in your life, the outcomes, and a strong external locus of control is emphasis on others controlling your life, external factors, even such as luck and such. So how I use this in my program is I give some tips on how to steer more toward an internal locus of control, which gives you a stronger sense of self-efficacy. Then on to empathy tips, which is really important to develop for designers. So this goes especially into detail for tools that you can use when designing to center your thinking around the user. So these include personas, empathy maps, and journey maps. Personas, for example, are setting a fictional character to represent the demographic of the user that you're designing for and going into depth on what motivates them, what their lifestyle is like, and such to get your head into maybe where they're thinking. Other empathy hallmarks and tips are respecting differences in opinion, which includes the tool of suspending judgments, and having a sensitivity of other cultures and experiences. So designing for accessibility is a really key one in this one. Lastly is social skills tips. So the hallmarks include personal connection, social analysis, and organizing groups. One really important tool within personal connection is active listening, which is trying to force yourself to really listen to what the other person is saying rather than focus on what you're going to say next, and also demonstrating body language that contributes to your attentiveness in the conversation. Other tools are managing others' emotions, building intimacy and rapport, and knowing your network. And then after you go through these exercises, add them to your learning plan, this accountability tool, it just allows you to log how many times that you have completed each exercise or tool, and Then also, like I mentioned before, there's a reflection area to kind of just talk about the changes that you notice within yourself, or maybe document what you want to, which tools and exercises you want to adopt into your normal life going forward, as this program mainly just focuses on implementing these tools in your life for a couple of weeks, and then seeing where you want to move forward with that afterward. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much for listening and following along with all of the content that I put into my emotional intelligence development program, and I hope you learned something. Thank you.